Good morning, Robert Scribbler, and welcome to the Valentine's Day edition of the OBX Wave Report. I'm going to discuss with you all things waves, weather, climate, and beach lifestyle. And for today, we've got some good news about the waves across the Outer Banks. But before I get into that, I just wanted to send off a well-wishing to Nathan Florence, who recently injured himself surfing big waves at Jaws. Big wave surfing is perilous. There are serious physical forces involved, and I encourage you to check out his recent video discussing the details of his injury. One of the things that he does talk about are the forces involved in waves, particularly in barrels. He ends up in a lot of huge barrels, and in his most recent um, epic, insane wipeout at Jaws, he got caught up in a monster of a thing. Apparently, a 25-foot barrel got picked up and dropped from the top of the barrel into the bottom of the barrel and into the fast moving water at the bottom of the barrel. And I wanted to go into like a couple of the details, some of the scientific details about the forces involved, um, and just to give everyone like a perspective on how crazy that is. So like a big wave moving through the ocean moves with a lot of velocity. It doesn't look like it's moving very fast because it's so large, but it's hauling. It is moving, it is trucking. And the say for example, if the wave period is 20 seconds, and I don't know exactly what the wave period was on the day that Nathan had his really gnarly wipeout, but Um, you could get like a wave period of about 20 seconds with large waves like that. It could be even more. It could be 25 seconds or something like that. But if the wave period is 20 seconds, then the approximate velocity of that wave moving through the water is about 35 miles per hour. That's fast. I mean, that's like car crash fast, and that's a huge mass of water moving at that speed, so it carries an immense amount of energy. The other thing is that water is non-compressible, and when the wave starts to break, um, Nathan often talks about the like the tension, the apparent tension at the base of the wave, that where that water is sucking in, it's moving at that speed. It's moving at the speed of the wave. And in fact, the I mean the like the wave does start to slow down a bit, which is why it starts to break. But even so, it's still moving, at that velocity as it moves the water up the face of the wave. So you've got that water moving at about 35 miles per hour across the bottom of the barrel as it's starting to throw, and maybe even picks up a little bit more velocity because you got that vortex that starts to form, which actually might add some energy to the wave. But we'll just say 35. 35 is enough. and and um so yeah, you've got fast moving water, and water is incompressible. It doesn't squish. I mean, it'll displace, but it doesn't squish. And a surface of water moving at 35 miles per hour might as well be concrete. Um, as far as the kind of feature that it has for, something that impacts it. Um, and if Nathan fell at the top of that barrel, yeah, it could have been what, 20 feet ish, or more, maybe even 25 feet. And just a 20-foot fall, that's a 1.1 second fall. thereabouts, or about 24 miles per hour, or more, if you fell 25 feet, into something incompressible that's already moving. So you got, the motion of the fall toward the bottom and the angular velocity of the water moving 35 miles per hour or so, you know, tearing through there, and then that whole mass of the wave also. So it's just, and then Nathan's mass in this case, what, about 80 kilos maybe, I don't know. But in any case, yeah, so 1.1 second fall ish, maybe more. 24 miles per hour if it was 1.1 seconds, much faster if it was 2, or 1.5, and then into something that's already also moving and incompressible. That's motorcycle accident stuff. I mean, that's that is serious. And I mean, people have been injured on much smaller waves, seriously injured. And I mean, this is a monster. This is a beast, the stuff that he was out in. So Nathan, I hope you get better quick. Much respect for all you do. Um, you're forging new paths and doing things that many surfers have never done. And it's an inspiration to listen and watch what you've done. So yeah, but thank you for all you do, and hope you get better, and so you can get back out there doing the stuff you love. But also, there's a reason why there's that adrenaline. I mean, it's rough. It's real serious physical forces out there in those massive waves. All right, so that's a shout out to Nathan. Hopefully he feels better, he gets better quick, and gets back out to doing the stuff he loves. For us at the OBX Wave Report, today we have much less severe, intense, extreme surf conditions. The waves here are 2 to 4 feet across the Outer Banks, good, fun, rideable surf. Much more calm in the wake of the nor'easter that passed through, and just enjoyable, likely very rideable waves up and down the Outer Banks today. We do have a storm system forming in the central U.S. and some possible severe weather over the next couple of days, so I have to keep an eye out on that. We haven't really had an end of the severe weather season for the Southeast, and the main reason for that is you got a climate imprint on that. The Gulf of Mexico is much warmer than normal, in the range of 2 to 4, 2 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. That much warmer than normal Gulf of Mexico is providing extra fuel for storms, and so we really haven't had an end to the severe weather season. It just kind of has continued for the Gulf Coast. I mean, we've had lulls, but not much of an end. So this week there are risks for severe weather across the southeast U.S. and the Gulf Coast region, eastern Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, possibly into parts of Tennessee, Georgia. So just keep an eye out. Please pay attention to your local weather reports and stay safe out there, guys. But yeah, whenever you hear these, talk of severe weather, in February, or extending through the winter months and not really ending, and you also hear talk about Gulf of Mexico temperatures being warmer than normal. That's a climate change fingerprint right there. So yeah. All right, so right now here in the Outer Banks, I was saying we got some pretty nice surf. Now out west, there's it's pretty clear right now, but we've got strong winds coming in on the west coast, and high surf out there as well. And all right, so let's get into the satellite shot. You can see that big old mass of clouds in through the central U.S. and the clear, pleasant day that we're experiencing here in the Outer Banks, and some flow from the northwest into the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast region, with a large area of moisture lurking offshore. Might want to keep an eye on that into next week, as we might get like some severe storms coming into the West Coast that tap into that Gulf moisture and fire up even more powerful thunderstorms into the following week. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. All right, and looking at, well, let's see. No, I was just looking at a temperature map. Let's go ahead and look at the ocean surface and get like some wave heights. I'll drill down to the Outer Banks a little bit, but we've got the large waves associated with the nor'easter out here now off of the U.S. Northeast and Newfoundland. Significant wave heights in the range of 20 feet. Far up in the North Atlantic, we've got lots of large waves, but nothing too crazy. Out in Ireland, significant wave heights offshore in the range of looks like 8 to 15, 9 to 15 feet. And then some storms firing off the tip of Greenland. It is worth noting the West Coast is pretty big right now, with significant wave heights in the central to northern California areas ranging from 13 to 17 feet in the near offshore environment. Significant wave heights down near the coast. In the southeast region, rather smaller, ranging from about 4 to 6 or 7 feet, but still relative. Ooh, it's 4 to like maybe 10 feet as you get further north. So rather large swell coming in from the northwest there across California and the Pacific there. And then we've got some huge storms firing off south of the Aleutians with significant wave heights in the 30 to 34-foot range. So very large surf out there in the Pacific as the Pacific begins to heat up with storms once again. Out here off the Outer Banks, much milder but still rideable with significant wave heights in the range of about 5 feet. And I'll get into that a little bit more as we go. All right, so we got all sorts of weather alerts firing up as this large storm system moves through the central U.S. We've got blizzard warnings up in looks like Minnesota, and winter storm warnings out over parts of the Rockies into Colorado. We've got flood advisories up in the rainy areas, and we got the potential for severe weather. On the West Coast, we've got gale warnings up for most of the West Coast, so big waves, big gale. Here on the East Coast, pretty calm. We've got some small craft advisories up in the Northeast for the Gulf Coast region associated with that storm that's moving through. Small craft advisories look like they're up as well. Here in the Outer Banks, pretty calm, looking nice. Atlantic waters, there's still a gale warning with some storminess out offshore. And looking at the NOAA quantitative prediction forecast, looks like we've got some expected heavy precipitation here for the central US. Although this doesn't look too extreme to me as far as like a 7-day outlook. I don't know. We might see these numbers exceeded given the severe weather that's coming through. We'll have to see. For the Pacific Northwest is the hotspot for storminess, but some storminess appears to lurk off California here. We'll have to keep an eye on this. It does look like that the storm track is going to flatten out a bit and bring more storms into California as we look into the longer range forecast into next week a bit. All right, so getting down to our local observations, we're going to start out at Jeanette's Pier. I'm going to move on up the coast here from where my last observation was yesterday using our Google Maps for informational purposes. And right now at Jeanette's Pier, waves are in the range of 3 feet with a primary swell coming in at 9 seconds, secondary swell coming in at 8 seconds. Winds out of the northeast at 13 miles per hour. That is an onshore flow. Air temperatures at 59 degrees Fahrenheit, ocean water temperatures at 52. The forecast for today at Jeanette's Pier is sunny with a high of 49 degrees, so remaining relatively chilly there, but the ocean water is a bit warmer, which is a nice mitigator for your Valentine's Day surf sessions if you do decide to go out. And overall, seems like rather good surf there at Jeanette's Pier today. I got out there yesterday, got some good observations. There were some surfers out there. The waves they were pretty large. They looked like they were in the range of 3 to 6 feet, breaking well off the end of the pier there, getting engaged on the second sandbar. So pretty large waves. Somewhat unexpected. They weren't really forecast to be that large. So maybe we'll get better waves than what the forecasts are saying there at Jeanette's Pier today. In any case, looking pretty good nonetheless. Moving on south down to Esterns on the Hatteras Island at the Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge. Let's go down here. Yeah, let's see, S turns in this region here. And right now, S turns waves are in the range of 3 feet as well, with a primary swell coming in at 9 seconds, secondary swell coming in at 8 seconds. Winds out of the northeast at 17 miles per hour. This is an onshore flow with those northeasterly winds and the slight northeast cant to the coastline. Air temperatures right now in the range of 54 degrees Fahrenheit, and ocean water temperatures also at 54 degrees Fahrenheit. It's sunny right now. It's beautiful. We've got these beautiful Outer Banks blue, cerulean blue skies. And the expected high today is 54 degrees. So we've already reached that down there at S turns. And then heading on down south to Buxton, the big wave spot of the Outer Banks. We've got waves in the range of 2 to 4 foot there at Buxton. Primary swell coming in at 9 seconds. Secondary swell coming in at 8 seconds. Winds out of the northeast also at 17 miles per hour. That is also onshore for the east-facing beaches, offshore for the south ones. And air temperature is also 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Got a bit of a cooler air influence and also a cooler water influence. The water temperatures down there at Buxton got knocked down to 59 degrees, so it looks like the Gulf Stream got shoved a bit offshore here, and so we're getting more Labrador current influence with those cooler waters down there at Buxton. And forecast, like most locations for the Outer Banks, sunny, and at Buxton warmer with an expected high today of 60 degrees. And that concludes our roundup of locations across the Outer Banks on this Valentine's Day. Looking at the long range forecast, temperatures are expected to be much warmer than normal in the February 21 through 27 timeframe. And I have been talking about the dipole for a while now, and it appears to be setting up for severe weather. I would say, yeah, looks like potentially in the central U.S., maybe a little bit further east. The primary influence in this warmer and moister air mass that we are experiencing here in the southeast is the much warmer than normal Gulf of Mexico and also the much warmer than normal Atlantic Ocean, which is helping to keep temperatures warm here in the southeast, but what it's also doing is fueling a lot of moisture for storms that move across the country. And with temperatures being much cooler than normal in the west, we can expect a dip in the jet stream there to help bring in storms. And as these storms run into that moisture over the east, you have more convective lift. And so these are the ingredients of the dipole. You got hotter, moisture than normal air here, and you've got colder, less stable, more stormy air here out west. And the zone between the two can get to be a battle zone. And it's in that zone where you get that potential for severe weather. And that's what we're looking at over as we get into next week. All right, so also looking at precipitation, we do have a hot spot here over Kentucky and Tennessee and parts of the southeast. So again, an indicator that we might get some pretty heavy severe weather here. And then we've got also above normal potentials for the Pacific Northwest. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. All right, so looking at the convective outlook for the near term, today we've got some potential for thunderstorms in the Mississippi River region and parts of New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado area. And then for tomorrow, chances for severe weather are enhanced near the Gulf Coast region and into the Mississippi River Valley. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this so you guys can see it. And this is the chance for severe thunderstorms. I mean, likely thunderstorms, but there is a chance now of severe thunderstorms over this region. And then moving into the day on, let's see, today is Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, severe weather potential running all the way up from the Gulf Coast to Lake Erie. And that looks more like a springtime severe weather kind of feature, and this being fueled by that much warmer than normal Gulf of Mexico, much warmer than normal Atlantic Ocean. And then in the 4 to 8 day outlook, Not much indicated as of yet, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Okay. All right. So looking at the global forecast system model, we see the storm forming across the central U.S., drawing in snows across the Rockies and parts of the Sierra Nevada range. And this storm is expected to fire on up as it moves on off to the north and east, possibly dumping a blizzard here in the battle zone between warm and cold over Minnesota, and then moving on up into Canada. And then we've got another impulse forming in the day on Thursday over Texas, and then heading on off to the north and east again, firing off storms in the central U.S. with looks like possible heavy snows moving in through central U.S. in looks like Nebraska area, south of the Dakotas, and then heading on into Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, with some severe snows and severe weather trailing down south in the frontal boundary from the Gulf, and then heading on up north into Friday. And this storm expected to sweep through the Outer Banks, so things might get stormy on Friday with some strong southerly winds, and that also might kick up the surf from the south. And then as we head on into next week, we've got a Pacific storm that moves in and kicks some energy out into the central U.S. And then a much more powerful Pacific storm coming in from the northwest. Yikes. Looks like something kind of crazy might be coming together for next Thursday, both in the snowfall potential here for the northwestern U.S., running in from the Dakotas on westward through the Rockies into the Sierra Nevada, and then starting to create, looks like, some rather extreme potential for the Mississippi. Oh, wow, look at that dividing line that is. That's a pretty intense warm front there with a cold front and an anchoring low. Hopefully that won't turn into a bomb cyclone, but nonetheless, a very powerful system, looks like, by late next week. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as oh wow, look at that high behind it. Yeah, some big burly systems predicted to come through by late next week. We'll have to keep a weather eye to that. Now let's get back down to the coast. And right now for the Outer Banks, swells are ranging from 3 to 4 feet in the near, 3 to 5 feet in the near offshore environment. These are likely translating to the coastline because the swell angle is pretty much directly to shore. So we're likely getting good waves in the range of 2 to 4, maybe even 3 to 5 feet down there at the coastline. So good surf today on this Valentine's Day. For tomorrow, waves are expected to drop down a little bit into the 3 to 4 foot range. Not dropping too much, but we've got that storm moving offshore further out into the Atlantic, so the influence is dying down. Although 3 to 4 foot nearshore waves at that angle coming in from the east is still likely to be quite good. And then into a Thursday, looks like the waves continue to drop off a little bit in the 2, well, looks like still 3 to 3.5 foot range. So not dropping off too much, but it's a little bit calmer in the day on Thursday. And then as we get into Friday, we start to get those southerly winds. And with those southerly winds, we get the south swell. So the south facing beaches are likely to get larger surf. Looks like near shore waves in the range of 7. Gosh, I can't get my brain right. 7 to 8 feet in the near offshore environment, and wraparound swell for the more northerly beaches in the range of 6 to 7 feet. Still pretty tall waves. This might be choppy with those southerly winds. Let's look at the air. Yeah, so we got strong winds coming out of the southwest in association with a front coming through. So this might be choppy with those southwest winds and might be kind of blown out here for the north-facing beaches. But nonetheless, larger waves south and north on Friday as a front starts to form. And then into Saturday, the backside of the front, we get those northerly winds coming in. Still likely a little bit choppy here with winds coming out of the north and swell coming out of the north in the 6 foot range for the north facing beaches. Now I'm curious about the winds. And yeah, relatively strong winds, but not too crazy coming out of the north. So it might not be too choppy. It might actually be a decent day as we get into Saturday. All right, so thank you for joining me for this session of the OBX Wave Report. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and please remember to remember your sweeties on Valentine's Day. Shout out to my sweetie, the Fair Lady Cat, whom I've been with for these uh, 22 years now. Pretty amazing. Um, but in any case, also, as you think of your sweeties, I'd also like you guys to send some love to our coastal communities by doing everything you can to help transition the world to clean energy, help to speed the world's transition to clean energy, and to fight climate change by tamping down and hitting a zero fossil fuel burning state. This will help to halt sea level rise and tamp down the climate crisis fuel, being extra atmospheric heat that is driving more extreme weather events, particularly for the coastline. That would be more intense cyclones like nor'easters here on the Outer Banks and tropical cyclones like hurricanes. So thank you for joining me again, and I will be back with you shortly.